everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Uncanny Treks. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. Tonight we are discussing the 1999 crossover Superman vs. Fantastic Four Infinite Destruction. We're doing this in commemoration of the super fantastic summer we're all about to have with the movie releases. Matt, any Superman or Fantastic Four thoughts about them fighting or about the movies coming out this summer?
Well, I haven't gone to see the Superman movie yet, Bob. It's dropped as of this recording, and I really want to go see it. I've heard good things.
Quaid likes it.
Yeah, Mark Waid likes it. Apparently, it's a really good start for the Gunverse or whatever. So I'm gonna give it a shot. Are you giving it a shot?
It would have to be a better start than Creature Commandos, Matt.
We all just forgot about Creature Commandos.
I'm certainly trying to. Matt, despite saying for months and months on this podcast that I'm going to be a liar. I'm going to shame my family, and I am going to go. I will defend my thing by saying my friend who I see most of my movies with in theaters, she's really excited for it. And also, we just don't go to many movies anymore because there's just not many movies to go to. So, depressingly, I'm probably going to see this and Fantastic Four.
Glad to have you on the superhero film bandwagon. Did you get your $80 Galactus popcorn bucket?
I saw that image. I was horrified. Did I ever tell you, Matt, that I once made myself sick off movie theater popcorn?
No.
Well, Matt, I used to work at a movie theater, and there was another movie theater nearby, and I went to see a movie with some friends at that other movie theater. I believe it was Thor 2, The Dark World. And so I just got a big plastic bag, and I didn't fill it all the way up, but I filled up the plastic bag with the popcorn from the movie theater that I worked at, and then I snuck it in. My two friends did not want my mysterious popcorn from a plastic bag. I was actually a little insulted, and I was feeling a little salty, and I didn't eat all of it, but I ate way too much of it, and I came home and I was sick. And ever since that day, Matt, yeah, I'll still eat a little popcorn here and there, but I don't have the $40 bag of popcorn in me, let alone the $80 Galactus head.
So when you say a plastic bag of popcorn, you don't mean like a shopping bag. You mean like a trash bag, right?
I mean, like a Kroger shopping
Oh,
bag.
okay. That sounds like that popcorn might have had something wrong with it, Bob.
No, I think it was just I ate.
Uh,
I made the popcorn myself. It
oh,
was fine. I mean, granted, our mechanism was not the cleanest. I did the best I could,
okay.
but it was not the cleanest, but it was fine. I had the popcorn many other nights. Although, also when I worked there, to regulate, I would usually only let myself have like a small Coke cup's worth of popcorn. It'll make sure I didn't have too much. It was more just about the volume of popcorn I
Yeah.
consumed than the quality.
So, Bob, there are Superman popcorn buckets, but they're not as interesting. However, I do think one of the best Superman popcorn buckets they could ever come out with would be a Superman popcorn bucket birthing matrix, where you're literally eating out of the birthing matrix.
To reference our discussion about the birthing matrix on another recent show, John Byrne came up with the birthing matrix, and we realized it was only so he could get Superman birthright citizenship in the U.S. So does anybody who eats popcorn from the birthing matrix on U.S. soil automatically become a citizen, Matt?
Question, Bob.
And just to be clear, listeners, I think that's insane that John Byrne did that in hindsight, especially given his very public anti-immigration views. So, yeah,
But,
I just want to be clear. I'm being satirical. John
but,
Byrne is insane.
but it's truth, justice in the American way.
It's not truth, justice in the global way. It's just in the American way.
Well, Bob, I do want to go ahead and ask one question before we start this comic. How did this
Hit me.
crossover? Do we just go with it? Is that how this works?
I believe, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I believe Marvel versus DC might have set up some sort of parallel world where they can have these crossovers, or set up the status quo where this can happen. Even before Marvel versus DC, I think if you think back to like the two Superman versus Spider-Man crossovers from, I think, wasn't one the late 70s and one the early 80s?
Yeah.
The Batman versus Hulk crossover from the early 80s, which we weren't kids when they came out, but they did big reprints of those when we were kids. And if I remember those correctly, basically usually it was the same world in those too, right?
Yeah. I recently read the Punisher versus Batman from the mid 90s, and it doesn't really explain that either. Punisher just happens to be Gotham. He goes to
Well,
Gotham
Matt,
City.
that's because you have to read Punisher versus Archie first, in which
Yes.
that he's going to Gotham City
So
after he goes to Riverdale.
so wait, Archie's also see, they all should just be in the same universe.
They are. It's Archie, DC, Batman are in the same universe. Do you remember that X-Men New Teen Titans crossover?
I do vaguely.
That one might have done something with different dimensions just because it had both Darkseid and the Phoenix Force.
Yeah.
And I think they might have felt the need to explain why Darkseid and the Phoenix had not interacted before. But that said, I don't remember that crossover very well, and that might not be how they handle it at
I
all.
just feel bad for this universe when like Superman doesn't come to help with like the Marvel related stuff.
Maybe Fantastic Four could help out Superman from time to time. So our writer and our layout artist for this is Dan Jurgens. Matt, what do you know old Dan Jurgens from?
Geez, I know Dan Jurgens from everything. He wrote Superman that we grew up reading from the 90s. Superman Time and Time Again, The Death and Return of Superman, Reign of the Superman.
Not all of it was Jurgens, but certainly a lot of it was Jurgens, and he was the writer artist on a lot of it, including the actual issue of The Death of Superman.
Yeah, very famous, Bob.
And then you remember, of course, Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey.
Oh, it was excellent, Bob. And that costume is awesome, isn't it, Bob?
It's the best, Matt. It's the best. And then I've never actually read the 80s Booster Gold. Have you read the 80s Booster Gold?
No. I liked Booster Gold at a time. He was funny in that one series they did with the Justice League
The Justice
International
League
coming back.
International. One is formerly known as JLI, and one is I Can't Believe It's Not Justice League.
Right. Those were funny at the time. I don't know if they'd be funny now. They were funny to me back in the early aughts.
I reread them a couple of years ago and thought they were funny.
I'm gonna go back and look at it because I do remember owning the first run, not the second.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a
I,
sequel.
I have never ventured into the 80s Booster Gold, but Noah has, and he really recommends it. Then, Matt, a couple of more obscure things that Jurgens did that people don't remember as much that I'd throw out. So, in the late 90s, I think before this, he did a Teen Titans and Legion of Superheroes crossover. I think it was called Universe Ablaze.
Oh,
So, my man likes his crossover comics, as we see from this and that, and Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey.
the big ones that can get him money.
Then I have not read much of this run, but do you remember Sensational Spider-Man number 0 from 1996?
I don't actually remember anything that happened in it.
So that's when Ben Riley stops being the Scarlet Spider and starts just being Spider-Man. He gets the slightly new costume, and Jurgens apparently wrote and drew that issue, which I owned when we were kids and I read to pieces. And I think he has maybe a 20 issue run on Sensational Spider-Man, writing and drawing Ben Riley Spider-Man, but I've only really read the number 0.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do remember the cover because that was pretty. Those foil covers they used to have back in the day were pretty
Well, this
crazy.
one wasn't foil. It had a holographic heart.
They did that with the Robin series too.
Robin 2, Joker
hmm
Smile.
There were a lot of gimmicky covers back in the day.
Beautiful.
Well, now they just do alternate covers for everything, which is annoying.
Do you remember, did that really get in vogue in like the early aughts? Was that when they first started going with the alternate covers?
I think so, yeah. And then they specifically do it. They do it on purpose though. That's what's so.
Retailers have to order a certain number to
Right.
the variant covers, right?
I don't know how I
Yeah.
feel about that.
Yeah. I'm sure if I was a retailer, I would definitely have opinions about
Yeah.
that. So the guy doing, I think he's doing inks, but he's doing a little bit more than inks because he's doing finishes on Jurgens layouts, is Art Thibbert, who I wasn't super familiar with, but apparently he's a pretty superstar inker as far as that goes. He inked for Jurgens on Superman, at least for some of it. He then got poached by Image for the early 90s Image books. And then he was on the late 90s X-Men and Fantastic Four at Marvel. And then in the early 2000s, he was inking Ultimate X-Men, I guess, for Brian Hitch, Ultimate Spider-Man for Mark Bagley.
The art in this is crazy good. I do appreciate the art and the inking, especially in this
So do you
open.
want to
Going into it,
start
Bob.
with your favorite?
Yeah, my favorite's on the second page. Beautiful shot of Galactus's face. Huge. But then in the corner there, you see Kal-El's rocket. You see the little birthing matrix attached to the rocket. It's right there. And it just sets up everything like in one image. This is a good idea. Having
Yeah,
Galactus as
yeah.
targeting Krypton.
And then we get the reveal, spoilers, listeners, if you haven't read this, but we get the reveal later on that Galactus didn't, in fact, destroy Krypton. But yeah, the heavy implication of these early pages is that he did. And on the one hand, if you're doing a Superman Fantastic Four crossover, it's super obvious to have Galactus observing and arguably participating in the destruction of Krypton. But you got to do it, man. And like you say, the art on this splash page of Galactus looks so cool that
Yeah.
it's really well executed.
We've seen a lot of Galactus drawings recently, Bob. This is a great one.
Really good Galactus drawings. And then it's also very fun. We get I like the art on 9 where we see the hologram of Jor-El that comes out of this shard green technology. It's all very John Byrne Krypton looking, which Jurgens was one of the first guys to draw the post-crisis Krypton after Byrne. There were other people in there like Jerry Ordway too, of course. Really intertwining Superman and Galactus mythos in a cool.
And he gets that crystal, Bob. That crystal straight out of Superman 4.
I saw that crystal and I thought the Byrne run and Man of Steel, but yeah, I think you're right that it is straight out of Superman 4. Matt, how do you feel, speaking of art styles, how do you feel about the Bruce Timm Superman the Animated Series being Franklin's favorite TV show?
I'm okay with it, Bob, but it gave me a little bit of derangement because I see Franklin playing with action figures and he's got Superman and Iron Man in his hands. Did you ever cross over with your action figures when you were younger? I don't know. This must be a problem with me. I never did. If I was playing Superman, I was only playing with my DC figures. I never had Superman join the X-Men, like, does that say something about me?
If it does say something about you, it says the same about me because I also did not cross over.
So
I
weird.
guess it just shows that we're very anal retentive. We're no, they are separate universes.
We're brand loyalty or something?
Well, it is weird because at this point in your life, do you feel like you have greater brand loyalty to Marvel or DC?
No. No, not as an adult. As a kid, I felt like I had more brand loyalty to DC. I guess it's because I like Batman more.
I think because we both started DC a little earlier and had more of it.
Probably.
Although it's a little bit, did we have greater loyalty to DC because we happened to have more of it, or did we buy more DC because we had greater loyalty? That's a good question. But yeah, I would say I think I know DC better than Marvel, but I've always liked them both about equally. But I think, like you, I've always just kept them very separate in my mind. It's not obviously crossing over Marvel and DC actually makes a lot of sense because it's the exact same genre. But to me, it's almost crossing over Star Wars and Star Trek. Why would you do it?
That's another thing. Yeah, I had Star Wars action figures and Star Trek action figures. Never once that well, they were different sizes though. That was kind of self-explanatory. But I mean, you can't have the little guys playing with the big guys. That doesn't make any sense. But I'm just saying, with the DC and Marvel, I never actually did any kind of storyline in my childhood where I was like, oh, let's let the Hulk show up at Wayne Manor. No, never.
We have the same disease, Matt. We have to keep going with the crystal, if we go to page 16, we get some other really good art of like Superman bringing the Krypton crystal to Reed and the energy from the crystal going haywire and making Reed's giant Kirby machinery malfunction and this big weight slam down on Ben. And I thought that was a really cool page of just doing the visual tropes of the Kirby machines that you've seen so much in Fantastic Four, and then the Krypton energy that you see so much in different Superman comics.
Yeah, Reed literally torturing his friends has become a thing, which I hope is in the movies. There's so many things I'm going to be looking for in this film that to fit in with these comics, and I'm probably going to disappoint myself.
Great. That's great. And I've been praising the art a lot, but my absolute favorite panel is the next page on page 17. One of Reed's lasers goes haywire, and then you have Superman step in front of Franklin to catch the shot. And it's really cool. The pose that Superman is drawn doing is completely the Jack Kirby pose. I think the panel might be a straight visual reference to either the Thing or the Silver Surfer catching a shot of energy in one of the original Kirby FF comics. But you got Superman catching the shot for Franklin, and then you got in the next panel Sue stepping over and putting the bubble around Franklin. It's a really cool 1-2 punch.
I have the sequel already written, Bob. What if in this shot that laser went through Superman and some of Superman's energy or whatever got on Franklin and he became more powerful?
He became the Super Franklin.
I can see it.
And then on the last page of the first chapter of this crossover, Infinite Destruction, Matt, were you surprised when Cyborg Superman showed up?
I was, Bob, but the man calls himself Cyborg Superman. I thought that was like a meta name. We just call him that, Cyborg Superman. I don't know why in my brain. It seems meta.
On the one hand, I totally get what you're saying. On the other hand, he needs a supervillain name, and what supervillain name is going to be cooler than Cyborg Superman?
But I used to call him Cyborg, but then that doesn't fit because you have a Teen Titans character, Cyborg or JLA. You can't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So they have to call him Cyborg Superman. What kills me is he does show up at the beginning of this. He's creating a cyborg form, but he chooses to look the way he does. That's his option to look like long haired half Superman, Terminator ish.
Yeah, he's
Isk.
reminds Superman of when he had the mullet.
Yeah, he doesn't even cut it. He doesn't trim the hair. Even though the thing is, Bob, he didn't have long hair. He didn't have the long hair during the reign.
We need to keep the super mullet alive somehow, though. And
Yeah.
I'm happy for Hank Henshaw, aka Cyborg Superman, to carry that burden for the fandom.
And the red armor is cool because it makes him look different than your basic Terminator. Because if he was gray, he would look like any other robot.
They usually say that the red armor is apocalyptic. That's usually the explanation for it.
It's the blood of the people he's murdered. It's the blood of the
Okay.
people. It's the blood of the people of Coast City, Bob.
Well, Matt. So this is chapter one of Infinite Destruction, but we also have chapter two, Power Cosmic. Not only do we have a cyborg Superman, but we have a gold Superman, and gold Superman becomes Galactus's herald. Do you have any thoughts on this?
I could saw it coming a mile away. Did you?
Of course.
Yeah. The minute they mentioned, I was like, "Oh, I see where this is going." Oh man, I like the gold outfit though. That's cool. Did we see something like this in All Star Superman?
This is his sun form in All Star Superman. And I've read some Silver Age Superman, but I haven't read it deeply. And I assume that there is a gold form Superman in the Silver Age that both Jurgens and Morrison and Frank Quitely are referencing from All Star, but I don't know that for a fact.
They sold an action figure of the gold Superman, and I just thought it was stupid. But now I realize, oh, it's this character.
Well, you can totally see how we who grew up very cynical about, especially about terrible Batman variations in our childhood and action figures, that we get very cynical about any variant action figure. But now that we're a little older and we've read All Star Superman, and I'm not going to say Gold Superman is my favorite thing from All Star, but I really appreciate all the alchemical symbolism Morrison and quietly put on it. All Star Superman means a fair amount to me emotionally. My reaction to it now is more complicated, even though I don't love the design of Gold Superman. When I was 8, I would just be a Gold Superman. That's so. Why don't they make one of the villains instead of just another Superman copy? So, do you know what?
Boarding.
So, Matt, were you amused by how Galactus kidnaps Superman to be his herald? And then immediately Cyborg Superman assumes the leadership role of the Fantastic Four and assumes the Reed role for the Fantastic Four because Galactus also kidnapped Reed.
It's funny because in Henshaw's history, he's literally Mr. Fantastic. His whole origin story was him going in space and his family getting irradiated. You always forget that. They have these weird origin stories that Cyborg Superman has the exact same origin story as the Fantastic Four, but slight
I
variation.
remember when we were kids, I don't think you had the Cyborg Superman origin issue, but I think it was retold in the course of the reign of the Superman.
Actually, Bob, I had a Lewis and Clark compilation that had the story of Hank Henshaw in it. Don't you remember, Bob? It had Terry Hatcher and Dean Cain on the cover.
I remember the trade, but I didn't remember that it had the Hank Henshaw.
It did. It had the whole thing with the four. That's why I know it.
Okay, so I did read that as a kid. Scratch all that I was saying, but I think I did catch that it was a Fantastic Four thing. I just thought it was weird.
Yeah,
I think when I was a kid, I didn't appreciate irony and metatextuality, so I was just, oh, are they lazy?
that was
Do
my
they not?
thought
Do
too.
they?
That's what we did as kids.
We were real dumb kids, Matt. We
Yeah.
were real. It is funny that and very self-aware that Jurgens obviously he did create Cyborg Superman to wink at the Fantastic Four, and then when he has this chance, he immediately puts Cyborg Superman in the Reed role. Although this is skipping ahead a little, but later it is interesting that Sue is insisting that Ben fly the Fantastic Four a craft instead of Cyborg Superman, and so Cyborg Superman is mostly a Reed ripoff, but there's also elements of Ben because he is a pilot too.
He wants to be everything. He's all the Fantastic Four. He shoots lasers too. They're like
Yeah.
fire. I like the art, and I love the art. The art is great. But the costumes are the most 90s costumes on these Fantastic Four members.
Right, you're right that it is 90s, but I do want to stress, and maybe I'm just saying this because we did the whole thing about publication year, but it feels very late 90s as
Yes.
opposed to early 90s or mid 90s. It feels very late 90s.
This Fantastic Four outfit that they've got, all of them are wearing, especially on Sue, it looks awful. Is this what they were wearing at the time?
Are you saying it looks awful just because of the improbable way they draw her breast, or do you have a problem with it beyond that?
It's the problem is the four being part of this the tunic piece. The way it's incorporated over their left breast, yes, but it looks weird. It looks weird on all of them. It looks weird on Mr. Fantastic, and it looks weird on
Okay.
Sue.
I don't hate it, but I can definitely see where you're.
I really like the new uniforms they have in the MCU right now. Those look cool. I've liked everything we've read in the past. I haven't really seen it, but this outfit just sticks out to me because the four is just in the weirdest. I don't like the way it's incorporated into the tunic. It needs to
Yeah,
go.
no, that's a good point. And then you had a point in this chapter too about Franklin being a latchkey kid.
They just abandon Franklin every chance they get. I've noticed that's another common trend of Fantastic Four that I want to see in the films if Franklin does grow up to be a kid and doesn't get kidnapped or something. But yeah, they just abandon him all the time and they're just like, bye, we'll see you later. Or they just left him standing on a dock. At least in the other comics we've read, yeah, we're gonna leave you with. They specifically say who they're leaving him with. Oh, we're gonna leave you with,
Yeah, babysitter is always a good excuse for a cameo.
right. But no, here they just leave him on the dock and he's watching the ship go by. And they took his doll or his action
Yeah,
figure.
he insisted that they take
Yeah.
this. Yeah, so we see Sue clutching the Bruce Timm Superman doll to her breast often throughout the rest of this comic. Well, to keep moving into, I think, our final chapter, chapter 3, Scourge, Matt, I really did want to call out on page 48 and 49. There's a really nice double page spread of Gold Superman batting away, clobbering away Ben. And that's really cool. I think that's a homage to Silver Surfer, the same thing to the Thing.
His thing comes up right behind him. What do you think was going to happen?
Then on that same double page spread, but lower down, we get Gold Superman trying to deploy the power cosmic on Galactus, and then Galactus it's not heat vision, but it's fairly visually similar to heat vision,
Yeah.
orange, albeit red, but yeah, just blasting Gold Superman with the orange eye vision.
Well, Bob, at the end here of this comic,
Yeah, I guess my last little action shot I wanted to call out, Matt, was on 53. We get the deep satisfaction of Ben clobbering Cyborg Superman, and also we get Gold Superman looking at the Bruce Timm doll and remembering who he is.
who am I? I'm Superman. You can hear the music playing at that point. The
Exactly.
doo doo doo. And then he goes off and does Superman stuff. Saves the day. The story itself is very contained. It does tell the story of Superman and the Fantastic Four. It hits all the cosmic levels. You've got Galactus. You've got Superman becoming the Herald of Galactus. You've got Franklin in there. Franklin, to me, has become just as big a part of the Fantastic Four as the actual key members. I'm glad they're putting him in the film.
No, that makes sense. And yeah, this is on one level, dear listener, this is definitely not essential comics. And like a lot of these Marvel DC crossovers of the 90s, it does everything you would expect and nothing more. But the question is just, does it execute well? And I feel like for this, yes, it executes pretty well.
Oh, it totally does. I mean, this is what would have happened had I actually taken the time to combine my action figures. It
If
has.
it gotten written permission from Marvel and DC crossover with your actions.
Exactly. Exactly. But I mean, I never thought, oh, you know what? Superman should fight Galactus.
Well, Matt, that raises the question, where on our ranking should it go? To orient the listeners, we have 10 items ranked so far that we've discussed comic wise. Number 1 is the John Hickman Fantastic Four run. Number 18 is the AJ Lieberman Gotham Knights run. I presume it's not going at number 1 or the new number 19. So where in that range should it go?
Do we want to put it after? Is it better than Archie versus Punisher?
Certainly not.
Okay, so definitely below that. All right. As far as Gotham Knights goes, the entirety of that run and what it accomplished, versus this.
And just so listeners know, Gotham Knights, we've got at 16, 17, and 18. We've got the Devin Grayson run at 16, the Scott Beatty run at 17, and the AJ Lee run at 18.
Oh man, this is getting hard, Bob. Let's see. All right, so definitely it's not as good as Broken City, right?
I don't think. Well, so as ever, I have to say, I think it's better than Hush.
But
I,
that's
I think
already.
Broken. I also think Gotham Year One and Get Joker and Doctor Midnight are all better than this too.
Let's put it as the new number 15 because Werewolf by Night, I feel like has been. Yeah, let's put it between
Well,
Midnight and Werewolf by Night.
I could see arguments either way. So you feel, and you don't remember Werewolf by Night very strongly. This is the 2023 Derek Landry Werewolf by Night one shot. All right, Matt. So you were saying that you feel you maybe dig the art of this Superman versus Fantastic Four more than the Werewolf by Night one shot. And even though there's some very good stuff in the Devin Grayson and the Scott Beatty Gotham Knights runs, you think this has the advantage of a single issue being a little more cohesive. So you're thinking putting Superman versus Fantastic Four at the new number 15, that's below the Matt Wagner Doc Midnight and above the Derek Landry Werewolf by Night.
I agree. Yeah, it's definitely the new number 15 in that sense. Like you said, Gotham Knights, man, that's such a long run, and there's some okay stuff, but there's some really bad stuff. So it's like, this to me sets out what it's meant to do. It tells a good story about FF, Superman. You get all the key pieces. It's a cosmic level event.
All right. Well, we're slotting it in at the new number 15. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us for this journey through Superman versus Fantastic Four. We'll be back soon with coverage of the Matt Fraction Future Foundation run. We'll be back soon with coverage of the Superman and the Fantastic Four movies, and we'll be back soon with Strange New World Season 2.
Thanks for listening.